Well, thank you. I don't know if I can call you Francis.
Call me Tio Pancho.
Tio Pancho.
Tio Pepe.
Tio Pepe. Okay, Tio Pepe. Now, Mr. Coppola, thank you so much for your time. I've been talking about, there's this concern in the rest of the journalists about how being critic and how being uncomfortable has become something that no one likes. Do you think that happens with cinema?
Well, I think what's happened with cinema is the same thing as what happened with the fast food business. They spent a lot of money to make a potato chip that you become addicted to. That, in other words, that taste, you have to has just enough salt and just enough sugar that you can't stop eating it. And they've done the same thing with movies. Why? Because nowadays the movies cannot lose money. The companies are all in debt, and the job of the Hollywood or of the world cinema is to make films that don't lose money. In other words, are totally risk adverse. Well, you can't have art that doesn't have risk. I mean, making art, I've said it is funny, but making art without risk is like making babies without sex. It's not possible. Oh, sure, you can do it, and they're doing it, and you can do it in laboratories. But we know that to make real art, it's not guaranteed. It's not Coca-Cola. They want the movies to be like Coca-Cola, that and they want the critics to basically criticize anything that it isn't going to. Half the criticism is whether or not it's going to make money or not. I mean, that's not what does the critic care about whether it's going to make money or not? The critic should care whether or not it's going to stand the test of time or not. I remember when Bonnie and Clyde came out, and all the critics gave it a terrible review. And then people started realizing that it was a great film, and some critics were brave enough to say, I was wrong. Bonnie and Clyde is a great movie, but today that doesn't happen. The critics are part of the same machinery that the risk-adverse studio system has. In other words, the pictures can't lose money. If they lose money, that's the biggest failure. But if the movie's great and loses money, their tools are all of their train tracks, which are Rotten Tomatoes and the Cinema Score and all the means of how you reach some little kid who says, "Oh, it only got 1 star. I'm not going to go see it." But that 1 star is awarded that because it's going to be a flop. It's going to not make money. There are a lot of flops that didn't make money that we consider the greatest movies ever made. I think the only artist who ever did it, what I did, which is borrow a lot of money and make the film I had in my heart, was Jacques Tati. And he went broke. The people didn't like it. It was called Playtime. But everyone knows that Playtime is just. Thank you, Jacques Tati, for making it. Did you ever see Playtime?
I love Playtime.
It's so wonderful.
Jacques Tati films.
And he suffered. The poor guy had lost all his money, and a lot of great work, as you know. The opera Carmen was a big flop, and the poor guy was so shocked. He was only 50. He died thinking he had made this terrible opera, but he didn't know that now Carmen is the most popular opera in the world. So this is the nature of art. If you take a chance, it has nothing to do with how much business it does. And hopefully, we will come around where great films will also get audiences and will be rewarded.
And regarding that, just to finish...
Of course, I'll shut up.
No, I want you to talk. I love you. Taking risks is one thing, but also not forgetting the things that move you. And I think that there are very interesting things that have moved you during your career. And one of them, I think, is like characters in the brink of losing innocence and or being corrupted. That this happens in Megalópolis. What moves you, to explore that subject, and how has that affected your life and work?
Well, I have a little bit of a scary thought that my life is I'm alone in the universe making movies, and I have to be the characters of my movies. You know, like when I was young and poor, I was very Machiavellian, so I was like Michael Corleone. Then on Apocalypse Now, I was in such a mess, I had to become a megalomaniac like Kurtz. And then when I made Gardens of Stone about a man who loses his son, I had to lose my son. So the truth of the matter is, I don't want my life to be just me alone making movies. I want to be part of the human family, and so my dream is to make, and I did it in Megalópolis, to make a film where I am one with the whole human family, and we're realizing that we can make the world a paradise for our children, and it doesn't have to be the mess that it is. It's not necessary, and I could argue with people if we could talk about why it's not necessary and what's really going on in the world that makes such a scary future. Why are we fighting with the Russians when they have great scientists who are the furthest on nuclear fusion, which would solve all of our electricity problems? Why aren't we working on that with them? Why aren't we working with people who know how we can fly airplanes without polluting the sky by using hydrogen? Because the people who are in the way, it's not that they own the item, is that they own the train tracks, they own the delivery system. In Hollywood, they own Rotten Tomatoes, and they own what 1-star means or 5-star means. So they use that to stay in power. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, but sensibility is important, and you still have it. Thanks so much.
Thank you
so much, Francis. It's been a pleasure talking with you.